Next time you balk at a $5 cold brew, remember, less than 50 cents is profit. The rest? Swallowed by forces no cafe can control. Your morning cup became the ultimate inflation gauge because it touches every pressure point: commodities, transport, labor. When one falters, coffee reacts fast. So no, you're not imagining the sting. That daily grind, it's now your personal economic dashboard. And here's what should really unsettle you. If coffee's this vulnerable, what's next? The same storm is coming for everything else. It's just moving slower. Now let's talk about why farms can't keep up. Because what's happening to growers might surprise you, and explain why prices keep climbing. Climate change brews trouble. The first reason your coffee costs more? Climate change is wrecking coffee farms. Look at Brazil, where half the world's Arabica beans grow. Last year's drought was the worst in a century. Coffee trees need specific conditions: altitude, temperature, rainfall. Brazil's coffee belt got none of that. Output dropped 30% in key regions. While one region battles drought, another struggles with floods. Vietnam produces most of the world's Robusta beans, used in instant coffee and espresso blends. Record floods washed away entire harvests, leaving farmers with nothing. Fernando, a third-generation Brazilian grower, holds up 2 photos of his family's land. The first shows healthy coffee trees in neat rows. The second reveals a wasteland of withered plants. The rains came 2 months late, he explains, wiping sweat from his brow. Then frost finished what the drought started. My grandfather never saw weather like this. These weren't isolated events. The UN predicts more extreme weather for coffee regions. Rising temperatures force farms uphill. Colombia's coffee belt already climbed 150 meters since 1980. But mountains don't grow taller. There's simply less land for coffee. Each year, climate models show coffee-growing areas shrinking dramatically. By 2050, half of today's coffee land may become unusable. Meanwhile, global demand keeps rising, especially in China and India where coffee culture booms. The plants themselves are struggling. Arabica needs 15 to 24 degrees Celsius year-round. Just a few degrees warmer and yields drop. Pests like the coffee berry borer beetle, which costs farmers $500 million yearly, now thrive in previously cool highlands. Weather shocks create unpredictable supply. Traditionally, a bad year in Brazil meant good prices could cover losses next season. Now disasters strike everywhere simultaneously. There's no reliable backup anymore. In Central America, many farmers abandon coffee for citrus or city jobs. The work becomes unbearable. Harvesting in extreme heat sickens workers, while younger generations seek less brutal work. The average coffee farmer is now 60 years old in many regions. Even good, weather years produce less. Rising nighttime temperatures disrupt plant metabolism, creating bland, low-quality beans. The subtle floral notes in Ethiopian varieties? Those come from specific climate conditions, now disappearing. Research stations race to develop heat-resistant hybrids, but it takes 20 to 30 years to breed new varieties. Climate shifts outpace the science. Some high-altitude regions could become tomorrow's coffee hotspots, but planting new farms takes years. Trees need 3 to 5 years to bear fruit. Insurance costs tell the story. Premiums tripled in a decade, putting coverage out of reach for most small growers. They gamble each season against worsening odds. Big brands like Nestle hedge by stockpiling years' worth of coffee, while small roasters bid against each other for shrinking supplies. The damage compounds over years. Stressed trees produce less even if weather improves. Many Brazilian farms still haven't recovered from 2021's frost. Processing presents new challenges too. Water shortages mean beans ferment too long, ruining flavor. Some farms now truck in water at enormous cost. Climate refugees emerge from coffee lands. Guatemalan farmers arrive at the U.S. border after 5 straight years of crop failures. Fair trade premiums meant to help now seem laughable. A few cents more per pound can't compensate for total harvest failure. The hard truth: current price hikes don't reflect future scarcity. Once reliable regions may stop producing entirely. Then today's prices will seem cheap. Your coffee habits' future depends on 2 things: emission cuts and whether science can develop resilient crops fast enough. Neither looks promising so far. Climate models agree coffee will become more expensive, rarer, and possibly worse tasting. But the supply chain has equally big problems. The broken supply chain. The journey from coffee farm to your cup used to be straightforward. Now it's a gauntlet of delays and markups. That bag of beans travels through at least 12 sets of hands before reaching you, and every step adds cost. Ocean shipping, the first domino falls. Start with shipping containers. A container from Colombia to Miami cost $2,500 pre-pandemic. Today, try $6,800 if you can even find one. Port backups mean beans sit for weeks instead of days. We've had shipments delayed 45 days just waiting to unload, says a Miami importer. By then, the quality tanks. Land transport, a house of cards. The domino effect continues on land. Trucking costs soared 35% last year alone due to diesel prices, while rail transport from West Coast ports to Chicago now takes 12 days instead of 5. When beans bake in sidings for days, the flavor profile changes, says a quality control manager. Many smaller trucking firms folded, leaving fewer drivers competing for loads. Storage and labor, the squeeze tightens. Warehousing costs spiked 25% nationally, with cold storage up 40% in coffee hubs. We used to turn inventory in 30 days, says a distributor. Now we need 90 days storage. Labor shortages compound the problem. Ports operate at 60% staffing. Trucking lacks 80,000 drivers. And warehouses can't find forklift operators despite offering $25 per hour starting wages. Global chaos, local consequences. Geopolitics adds fuel to the fire. The Red Sea crisis forces Ethiopian coffee to sail around Africa, adding 14 days and $2,000 per container. Cross-border shipments from Mexico slowed due to new customs rules adding 8 hours of paperwork per load. Meanwhile, fuel surcharges swing unpredictably. Trucking surcharges now average 42% versus 15% historically. The breaking points. Equipment shortages plague every step. Shipping containers remain scarce. Pallets cost 60% more, and even warehouse robotics sit idle due to lack of maintenance techs. Our $2 million automation system is down half the time, admits a distribution manager. Roasters face impossible choices. Pay 40% more for air freight or risk stale inventory. Microlot coffees suffer most. Some containers get rejected when beans bake so long they taste like cardboard. Transport damage reports increased fourfold, with one roaster receiving moldy beans after a container got stuck in Vietnam during monsoon season. The math behind your cup. Your $1 price hike breaks down like this. 37 cents covers higher bean costs, 28 cents goes to transport, 19 cents funds warehouse and labor increases. Just 16 cents ends up with the cafe, most disappearing into their own rising costs. The system isn't getting better. Shipping alliances reduced capacity to prop up rates, trucking fleets shrank permanently, and warehouse rents won't drop. We built an efficient just-in-time system that can't handle shocks. Now coffee drinkers foot the bill, while farmers see almost none of these price increases. That's a story you need to hear. Farmers getting squeezed. Here's the shocking reality. While you pay record prices for coffee, the farmers growing those beans are barely surviving. The math doesn't add up. Farmers face 40% higher production costs, but only see a 10% increase in what they're paid. The middlemen take the rest. Take Carlos, a third-generation coffee farmer in Colombia. In 2019, it cost him 80 cents to produce 1 pound of coffee, which he sold for $1.20. Today, his costs jumped to $1.15 per pound, while buyers only pay him $1.32. I work harder than my grandfather did, he says, but make less money in real terms. His profit margin collapsed from 50% to 15%, and that's before accounting for inflation. The financial squeeze is brutal. Fertilizer prices tripled since 2020. Diesel for farm equipment doubled. Labor costs 30% more because younger workers refuse to pick coffee for poverty wages. Rodrigo, a Honduran farm owner, explains. A coffee picker earns $5 per day here. Construction jobs pay $15. Nobody wants this backbreaking work anymore. The result, farmers bear soaring costs while buyers pocket the difference. Many face impossible choices. Maria from Guatemala switched half her land to avocados last year. Coffee takes 3 years for the first harvest, she says. Avocados pay in 18 months and need less care. Her neighbor now grows coca for drug cartels. It pays 10 times more than coffee with guaranteed buyers. The middleman system steals most of the value. For every $5 latte you buy, the cafe keeps $1 after expenses. The roaster takes $1.50. Exporters and importers pocket $1.80. The farmer gets about 20 cents, just 4%. That ratio worsened as prices rose. Supply chain chaos compounds the crisis. Farmers used to get paid 30 days after delivery. Now some wait 90 days as buyers struggle with cash flow. We need money immediately for next season's supplies, says Jorge, a Nicaraguan farmer. Banks won't lend to small coffee growers anymore. Many sell to loan sharks at 50% below market rates just to survive. Climate change adds crushing uncertainty. Ernesto in Costa Rica used to reliably produce 200 bags annually. After 3 bad harvests, he's down to 90 bags. Insurance won't cover climate losses, he explains. They say it's an act of God. His farm may not survive another year. Some cooperatives help farmers bypass middlemen. The fair trade premium adds 20 cents per pound, but certification costs $3,000 upfront. It's a gamble, says cooperative leader Luisa. You hope buyers will pay extra, but many just want cheap beans. Only 25% of fair trade coffee actually sells at premium prices. Big brands lock in prices through futures contracts. Starbucks buys years ahead at fixed rates. When prices spike, farmers don't benefit. We're trapped, says Bolivian grower Diego. The contracts protect buyers, not us. Warehousing issues steal profits too. Juan in Peru lost 15% of his crop last year when a shipping delay left bags in humid storage. The buyer downgraded his premium beans to commercial grade, a 40% pay cut. No insurance covers loss of quality, he says. The generational shift spells doom. Young people flee coffee regions entirely. My sons drive Ubers in Bogota, says Colombian farmer Hector. They earn triple what I make, with no risk of crop failure. The average coffee farmer in Latin America is now 57 years old, up from 48 a decade ago. Abandoned farms create a vicious cycle. In Mexico's Chiapas region, 20% of coffee land lies fallow. That reduces global supply, but middlemen keep the profits. We get the same $1.30 whether there's a shortage or not, complains grower Alejandro. Technology could help but rarely reaches small farms. Soil sensors cost $500 each, half a year's income for many. NGOs demo fancy gadgets, says Guatemalan farmer Rosa, then leave. We're stuck with machetes and hope. The coming crisis is inevitable. Experts predict a 30% drop in coffee farmers by 2030. My kids won't do this, says Costa Rican farmer Gabriela. When my generation quits, who grows your coffee? Your morning brew depends on an economic injustice. Farmers bear all the risks, climate, pests, market swings, while capturing almost none of the rewards. The system rigs itself against them at every turn. And here's what nobody tells you. When farmers disappear, supply will vanish entirely in some regions. Coffee takes years to grow. You can't just flip a switch when shortages hit. The irony? You probably tip your barista more than the farmer earned for those beans. That $1 tip could represent 5 days' wages for the person who grew the coffee. Now consider your local cafe's dilemma. They're getting crushed too, but not for the reasons you think. While farmers starve, coffee shops aren't exactly thriving either. The next link in this broken chain might surprise you. Coffee shops on life support. That locally owned coffee shop you love? They're raising prices because they have to. The Specialty Coffee Association reports 60% of independent cafes currently operate at a loss. That's survival mode. Walk into any small coffee shop today, and you'll see the owner juggling multiple roles: barista, accountant, janitor. Their espresso machine runs nonstop, but the math still doesn't work. Here's why. Your $5 latte leaves just $2 for everything else after beans, milk, and cups. And those costs keep climbing faster than sales. Take Sarah, who owns a cafe in Austin. Her rent jumped from $4,000 to $5,200 monthly since 2020. Last summer's AIC bills hit $1,800 a month. We opened windows instead, she told me. But customers complained about the heat. Baristas who made $12 per hour pre-pandemic now demand $18 plus benefits. A typical shop with 5 employees spends $14,000 monthly on payroll, up from $9,500. Worker shortages force overtime. One Portland owner paid $2,300 in overtime last month just to maintain hours. Equipment costs are relentless. That $20,000 espresso machine needs $400 monthly servicing, up from $250. A Chicago owner explained. Our grinder blades now last 12 months instead of 18 from overuse. That's an extra $1,200 yearly we didn't plan for. Here's the impossible choice. Raise prices and lose customers, or keep them and bleed money. A Brooklyn cafe owner shared her dilemma. At $5 cold brew, sales dropped 20%. At $4.50, we lost money per cup. There's no right answer. Quality cuts follow. One roaster switched to cheaper paper filters, saving 8 cents per cup, but changing the taste. Others reduced staff hours, creating longer lines that drive business away. A Minnesota shop used fewer espresso shots until regulars noticed. Big chains operate differently. Starbucks absorbs costs across 16,000 locations. When milk prices spike 40%, they negotiate bulk deals. Indies pay retail. That half-gallon of oat milk costs chains $2.10, but locals $4.80 at Costco. Even loyal customers pull back. A Denver cafe tracked behavior after a 15% price hike. Daily regulars became twice-weekly visitors. Those $5 daily lattes turned into $10 weekly treats for budget-conscious drinkers. Seasonal swings hit harder. Summer iced coffee sales once offset slow winters. Now summers barely break, even while winters devastate. A Seattle owner's July profits were 60% below 2019, despite higher sales. Delivery apps take a brutal cut. That $6 latte on DoorDash nets the shop $3 after fees. Yet skipping apps means losing visibility. A Los Angeles owner said, "We pay 30% commission just to stay relevant. Delivery is 40% of sales, but only 15% of profit. New regulations add pressure." A Philadelphia cafe spent $8,000 upgrading ventilation with hospital-grade filters. "Our old system passed inspections for years," the owner said. "Now we're stuck with triple the cost. Every ounce counts now." A Boston shop weighs coffee grounds after each shot, saving $360 monthly. Another measures milk to the milliliter. Pre-pandemic waste is now unaffordable luxury. The stress is crushing. Industry surveys show 70% of owners face severe stress, up from 40% in 2019. A New Orleans owner admitted, "I haven't taken a paycheck in 6 months. One bad month and we're done." Financing options vanished. Banks deny 75% of coffee shop loan applications. Approved loans carry 12% interest, double pre-pandemic rates. Many resort to merchant cash advances at 30% rates. This thin margin paints a stark reality. The industry predicts 30% of independents will close by 2025. The pattern repeats: cut hours first, then stop restocking, until a for-lease sign appears overnight. Failed cafes disappear quietly. There's no bankruptcy filing when a sole proprietor quits, just a locked door and a text to staff. Your barista knows the score. "We're grief counselors now," joked one veteran worker. Customers complain about prices while we wonder if we'll have jobs next month. Most shops operate on 3% margins. When costs rise 20%, a 5% price hike doesn't cover it. That $6 drink might net the owner 30 cents. This is about every small business facing impossible math. Coffee shops just show the crisis first because they're everywhere. Next time you see a price hike, remember, that extra dollar isn't profit, it's buying time. And time is running out. Your morning brew is the warning sign. The question is, where does this end? Coffee as economic crystal ball. Your morning latte serves as the economy's earliest warning system.